Are you wondering how to run the numbers if you're using the house hacking strategy? Well, in this video, we're going to go over 10 tips on how to run numbers for a house hack investment property. If you're new here, my name is Holly Bradley. I'm a realtor, house hacker, and investor who helps people buy, sell, and invest in the Pacific Northwest. Tip number 1, determine the type of the property. Are you looking at renting out rooms, subdividing a second story home into a duplex, or at a 2 to 4 unit property? Well, when you're getting started, it's important to think about what you're willing to sacrifice when it comes to your own space that you will be living in. Are you comfortable having roommates or would prefer separate units? These are really important questions to ask yourself when you're starting to look at the type of property you're going to purchase. Tip number 2. What is the average purchase price of the property? After you narrow down your search, find out where and what type of properties fall into your price range based upon what you're pre-approved for with your lender. Are any of the properties that sold recently what you're looking for? Do you need to make adjustments in your price range or your market? And this is all part of your market research. Step number 3, down payment costs. What are the down payment costs? In the video on how to finance your house hack, I went over the different down payment scenarios for up to a 4-unit property. So you want to check that out and talk to your lender so you can structure that into your pro forma. Tip number 4, taxes. Look up the average tax on the county website and include this in a line item on your pro forma. Step number 5, insurance. Find an insurance broker and figure out what the average insurance would be on the property type you're looking at and include that as a line item in your pro forma. Tip number 6, what is the vacancy rate in the area? Do you live in an area where most properties have 20% vacancy, or is it 5%? There are lots of online resources, or if you just Google vacancy rate for your area, you can find a calculation for that. Typically around the area of Seattle, maybe I would mark in 5% if it was my pro forma. Tip number 7, HOA, road maintenance, or community dues. If the property's in an HOA neighborhood, you want to include that in there, add in any extra road agreement, line items, things like that. Tip number 8, what are the utilities? Who's responsible for what? So each property, it'll be property specific, and it could potentially bring in more revenue if you're going to defer the utilities later on in your pro forma. Tip number 9 is deferred maintenance. If you are a buy and hold investor, there are a few ways to account for deferred maintenance. You can calculate all your fixes you would make over the next 10 to 30 years and calculate that by the number of years you will hold the property. Another way is to take 10 to 20% of the purchase price and divide that by 30 years. And then either of those add that as a line item to your pro forma. And last one, tip number 10, stress test. So there are a number of different items for you to stress test your pro forma. So that could be, what happens if there's a longer vacancy, if you had a $25,000 repair on the property, if you had to make market rent adjustments, there was a decrease in rent. So once you do that, you will have a range of cash flow that you can expect on the property. And bonus, step number 11, your return. There are many ways to look at your return: yield, cap rate, or straight cash flow are some of the ways a house hacker would look at the rental. This are just 10 tips that you will need to think about when you're making your pro forma and running your numbers. And especially, I would say the biggest one is just to figure out the range of cash flow that you can expect from the property. If this video helped you understand 10 tips that are important when you're running the numbers on your house hack property, please comment below. If you want to find out more house hacking content, go ahead and look in the description, or you can even meet me and join me once a month on my virtual house hacking meetup. If you have any more questions on how to run numbers or how to get started in your house hacking strategy, please don't hesitate to reach out.